About to get on a stage.
Well, in those words, you know.
Yeah.
Bobby was a sweet kid.
Fast forward to he's running for president himself, and one of the worst things happens. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
is assassinated in Memphis. He's about to get on a stage in Indianapolis before a largely African American crowd, and they haven't heard.
Well, it was not just in that. Largely, it was ghetto. As we used to say, it was a tough neighborhood in Indianapolis where the police refused to go in with him because they didn't want trouble for themselves. He goes in alone. He gets up on the flatbed truck, and as you say, I get the old NBC tapes because I'm working at NBC, and he said to the guy next to him, "Do they know yet?" And you hear the guy say, "No, they don't know yet." This is before Twitter, before social media.
Right.
You hear everything through word of mouth or on the news at night. And he said, "Oh," and he had to tell him. Imagine telling an African American crowd the greatest hero of their times or in history has been killed by a white guy, another race is killing. And he had to tell him. And I tell you, I think a big part of empathy, and the reason we don't have that really in our politics, I'm not just talking about President Trump, I'm talking about it's a lack of empathy. People are not willing to make themselves vulnerable. They've all put their armor on, they go to the right crowd they know is with them, they don't go to the crowd that might be angry at them. And Bobby was always doing that. And he talked about his brother being killed by a white guy, which sounded awkward at the time. Yeah, but he wasn't killed because he's white. But it still was a way of saying, I know what pain is. And that crowd, what are you supposed to do? You're African American. And Bobby was always exposing himself to what it would be like to be an African American kid. In fact, one guy really just hit him so hard at this meeting up in New York, and he said, I can't take 3 hours of just being pounded by this African American group of intellectuals. And then about a week later, he goes, "God, if I were one of them, I'd be one of them. I'd be thinking like this." And he ended up getting his brother to give the big civil rights speech. I got it on tape. I found the whole thing. I dug all this stuff up.
You reference a lack of empathy of today's politicians.
Well, like President Trump, I mean, he tried to call up the widow of the guy who was killed over in Niger. And he didn't even, I'm not saying it's a talent, but it's a soulful thing. You either have a soul for it or you don't. You either go, yeah, I can only, if you have a son, for example, which I do, I can imagine losing a son. I mean, you get it. My brother lost a son. I mean, I think you got to just take your armor off and try to figure out what it's like and put yourself in their shoes. And I think Bobby could do that. And very few policies. I don't think Jack was that warm-hearted about it. Jack was a charmer.
Right.
Yeah, everybody loved Jack, but he was breezy. Bobby was soulful, you know.
As you were just.
In fact, that's a love that when I said